Orach Chaim 3:2. וזה בחינת יתגבר קרי לעמוד בבוקר, שיהו מעורר השחר. Again, still with this beginning of Shulchan Aruch, getting up like a lion to wake up the dawn. כי האמונה היא בחינת מלכות. Because Emunah is an aspect of Malchut. And it says Shenekret Shachar, which is called Shachar, which is the dawn, but it's very dark at dawn. It's the beginning of the day, but it's the blackest. Black means Shachor. And the moon has no light of its own, so it's really dark on its own until the sun's light shines on it. Bechinat Ayelet HaShachar Kayadua, like we had before, Ayelet HaShachar has to do with the Shekhinah. And Malchut, Emunah, Shachar, all these words are in a way synonymous. Ki ikar shelemut Emunah hu baboker, because the main perfection of Emunah, faith, is again in the morning, or happens in the morning. That's when we have our Emunah at full strength. Like it says, Chadashim labikarim, renewed in the morning, Rabba emunatecha, a lot of Emunah. That we have Emunah, of course, we also mean it to say that Hashem is faithful to us as a ne'eman. Shezehu bechinat, it's of the aspect of nafkat betzafra, that she goes out in the morning. Kimvoar le'el baturahana, like we said before. Rav Natan Zal is going to bring a lot of what we said in the last paragraph, but now he is further explaining it as we said. Ubishvil ze nekret ha'emunah shachar kanal. And that's why Emunah is called Shachar, because again, Shachar is like the new morning, and our faith is renewed in the morning. Ve'al ken tzarich kol echad litgaber ka'ari. That's why everyone has to be strong like a lion. Ulhishtadel me'od, and to try. Sheya'amod baboker hashkem kodem alot hashachar, to get up before the dawn. Kedei sheyasok batorah utfilah, in order to engage in Torah and Tefillah. Of course, what we do is we wake up a little bit by Chatzot, whether it's a few minutes before or right at the moment of Chatzot, however it is, and we say Tikkun Chatzot, which is Tefillah, and then you're supposed to be learning as much as you can until the dawn. Now, if you can't do all that, it is a tall order, you can wake up for Chatzot, just say you Tikkun Chatzot, go back to sleep, and still wake up a few minutes before dawn, just so you're before it. The whole idea is to try and be before the dawn and learn a little bit something. Of course, if you can't do both of those, in our generation, of course, it's not that easy. We're not, they used to do this very easily in the olden days. So you have to try and juggle what you're able to do and, try and do more as you can. Always let it be on your mind to grow and to be able to do this. Whether you do it or not is another issue, but always strive to do it. Now it says we want to leha'alot ulhashlim legadel et emunah kidusha. Getting up before dawn and learning is going to elevate and complete and make grow the emunah, the holy emunah, meaning our emunah. That we have to wake up the dawn, meaning to be a hitorerut, give a hitorerut to the dawn, which is the emunah again. Bechinat a'ira shachar, I will wake up the dawn, and I will give it an awakening, a hitorerut. Hainu sheyizkeh al yedei avodato kodem or hayom le'orer hashachar. Meaning when it says, I will wake up the dawn, it means will be worthy through our avodah, which is the learning and praying, which is before the dawn, to bring out the dawn through our learning. Shehu bechinat ha'emunah. Meaning when it says I will wake up the dawn, it means I'm before the dawn. So what am I doing before the dawn? I'm not just sitting there. It means this is showing how we should be up before dawn and doing something, which obviously means doing things of holiness. And that's what means we precede the dawn. So that's how this Tehillim is alluding to, that we're probably and supposed to be up before the dawn doing things in order that when the dawn comes, it's like we woke it up and it didn't wake us up. Hainu sheyizkeh of Bechinat Emunah, like we said, Shesiricha, that we have to lehagdilah, to make it greater, expand it, meaning ulhashlima, to complete it, ad or hayom, until the light of the day. So what we do from midnight on until dawn is helping the Emunah to get greater, so it'll be at its full max at the daytime. Sha'azi kar aliyata, the main part of its growth, ushlemuta, bibchinat hadashim labikarim, meaning that is the time at the dawn is when it's at its max and it's shlemut, and that's what it means hadashim labikarim. In the morning it's renewed, bichinat nafkat mesafra, that again she, the emunah, the malchut, is going out in the morning. But the point is, it's going out in the morning at full-blown strength due to what I did before the morning. That's what helped it to get to where it is, meaning our emunah, faith. Ve'ikar shelemut ha'avodah hu litgaber me'od la'amod bechol laila bechatzot halayla. The main way of completing this emunah, of doing a good job on it, is to wake up and start this activity that's before dawn all the way from midnight, which we said. Rav Natan is just specifically saying it right now here. Like it says in the Zohar in many places, the importance of waking up at Chatzot. Migodel ha'azhara, that it warns you. The great warning, shemichuyav, it's imperative. Kol mi shenaga yirat Hashem b'libo, whoever has yirat Hashem in his heart, la'amod b'chatzot laila davka, he should specifically get up at Chatzot. Meaning it's not something that's just good to do. It's really an important thing to do. Getting up at Chatzot. The truth, most of the Jewish world, we don't really hear of this much for some reason in this generation, but it has to be renewed and retaught because the Zohar is telling us it's a very serious item, and of course brings much beracha, blessing to a person and his family. Ki ikar shelemut emunah kidusha, again the way to have perfect holy faith, hu al yidei shemevatilin umshaberin umevarin medato, is when someone nullifies and breaks and takes away from his da'at, shnei minei kushyot, from his understanding, meaning his knowledge, to the two types of questions, like we said in the last paragraph, ukfirut, and of non-belief, heresy, because we all have some questions. The two types of questions are shehem hakushyot she'i efshar le'ashiv alehem shum tishuvav terutz, those that are unanswerable, at least in this world, or before Mashiach comes. Ki alehem ne'emar kol ba'eha lo yishuvun. Like we said, whoever embarks on it, they won't get an answer, and they'll even fall in their level, and they won't return. It could be damaging to try and figure out things that have no answer. Utzrichin lesmoch rak al emunah levad v'kanal, and thereby you don't rely on your da'at with this. You have to rely on emunah, faith, because we have no answer. And the second type of question, ve'od yesh kushot she'efshar liyashivam, those that are answerable, ve'gam ela kushot lefamim nistemu shivlei hasechel v'yefshar leshivan. It's just our paths of wisdom, knowledge, and intellect is blocked, and we're not able to either get the answer or understand the answer. It means it's answerable, but we just don't have the answer. Ve'elu hakushyot hem lechol echad v'echad lefi b'chinato, and it's to everybody, all these questions, to each one on his own level. Lefi hasechel shel kol echad v'echad, each one according to his intellect and what he understands. And just to know, why should somebody's intellect be blocked anyway? If there's an answer, why can't I get it? Because either a person is not zocheh to meet the person who has the answer and get it, so he's still in the dark, or his spiritual level is low and it just doesn't enter his sechel, his understanding, the answer. it's too deep for him. But it's not that it's too deep. His level is not up to such an answer, so his consequence of not being religious as he's supposed to be or spiritual is he's not going to have some of the answers that he wants or needs. And so that's going to further mess up his emunah. So we are giving up a lot when we don't do what we're supposed to. Sometimes we think if I do what I want, it means I'm getting what I want. But it's not true. When you do what you want, you end up losing and not getting what you want, especially answers to life's difficult questions. V'tikun hazeh, a further tikkun to open up, lizkot liftoch et hadat, to open the da'at, like we said, if we're clogged up. The main way, which is what we said before, but just to see how Rav Natan puts it here, ulgalot shivlei hasechel hu al yedei limud poskim kanal, is to learn halacha and the poskim. That's going to unclog us and have us be able to receive answers. And ve'az zochin l'shalom v'nitbatel ha'machloket. Then you'll be worthy to peace, and all the machlokot will then be discarded, the unclarities. Because what it is the poskim and halacha, our Torah, the way we know it, also mirrors the way we know other things in life. So if we're in doubt about the law, it means we have doubt in our mind. So it's going to be now our mind is in a state of doubt for other things. And you won't know other answers when it comes to things about emunah and about life, like we said. So when you take care of one thing in its shalom, you resolve the machloket of halacha and you get down to the bottom of it and you now are clear on what to do. The mind now got a clarity. So now it gets clear on another plane, another level. So one works with the other. That's the idea. The mind is one mind. Either it's clogged or it's clear. So if it's clear on one thing, it means it's cleared up for something else too. And the other way too. So that's the logic between why halacha specifically, because that's where there's a lot of machloket. And it brings to peace of mind where you now know answers to things, because you got rid of now the ambiguity of the halacha and then of other things in life. So they go hand in hand, just to show the importance of halacha. It's not just to know what to do, it's to unclog the mind. Shehem bechinat kifilut v'apikrosit, which is the idea of, again, non-believing. V'zochin ladat la'ashiv ala pikorsit shebilibo, and will be zocher to know and to answer up the things that are troubling us in our heart. Meaning, again, by learning the poskim and the Shulchan Aruch and the halacha. Ubishvil zeh tzrichin litgaber lakum b'chatzot laila. And because of all this, that's why we have to be strong to get up at midnight. Ki yom v'layla shehem bechinat or v'choshech, because night and day, which correspond to light and darkness, hem bechinat da'at uchsilut, is also the aspect of knowledge or foolishness. Obviously, day and light is the knowledge, and the night and darkness is the foolishness, or meaning non-da'at, because you're in the dark, you don't know. Shehu hastarat hayediah, again, hidden knowledge. Like it says in Torah Lamed Zayin 37 in Likutei Maran. Shehada'at hu bechinat or, because knowledge is the idea of light, v'kesilut, and the foolishness, bechinat hastarat hayediah. Meaning foolishness, meaning like a person's all mixed up and he doesn't know the truth. So in a way it's like foolishness, because he doesn't know. And like we say in Shir, Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat, we say, Ish ba'ar lo yeda, uchsil lo yavin et zot. Both mean a fool does not know, which is the Yetzer Hara. Hu bechinat choshech. This is the idea of choshech, not to know. Ki choshech nimshach mecheshchat hadat. Darkness stems from darkness of knowledge. Shehu hastarat yedi'ah, which is again the hiddenness of knowledge, not knowing. Shemisham nimshachin, that from there is drawn elu hakushyot, those questions. Meaning that's where the lack of emunah and having questions come from. It's the idea of the dark and the night. Ki ita bazohar, like it says in the Zohar, and it says the Sidur of the Arizal, Kol Yaakov, it said there, Kad Paris Laila Gadfaha, when the night spreads its wings, meaning it comes out, Azai Mestatemin Tarin de Gan Eden, then the gates of Gan Eden are closed. V'nimusei gardunin nafkin be'alma, and the forces of evil or darkness go out into the world. Ve'alma itnaheg al yeda de matronita, and the world is then governed through the matronita, which is another way of saying the Shekhinah, or the queen, meaning not HaKadosh Baruch Hu's aspect, but the aspect of the Shekhinah, which in kind of a way acts like a middleman or an agent between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and mankind. The matron or the queen, but not the king. Of course, the king, Hashem, is obviously always doing everything, but it just means it's this aspect that's a lower aspect because it's the nighttime. Hainu ki balayla az mitgaber choshech. At night, the darkness is overpowering. Shehu heder hadat, which is the lack of knowledge. Shehu sitimat tarin de Gan Eden, which again is the closing of the gates of Gan Eden. Shehem bechinat shibilei sechel. The gates of Gan Eden closing is really a symbol for our sechel closing. The pathways of our sechel is closing. Of course, the gates of Gan Eden close also, but it corresponds to our sechel that's closing. Ve'az nimusei garudunin nafkin ba'alma. And again, all the klipot and the evil forces, they go out and are all in the world at night. Shehem bechinat hadinim v'kelipot, which is the aspect of just judgments, dinim, God forbid, against people, and the klipot, the forces of evil. Sometimes we see fevers go up at night. People get sick usually at night, and in the morning they start to feel better. There's all the dinim. Hashem should save us, Rahman al-Islam, go out at night. She'ikar achizatam bekfirut v'kushyot hanimshachin al yidei histalekut hadat balayla. The main way of them gaining power is through the kefirut, the non-belief, the non-emunah, and the questions that people have, which come from a lack of dat, histalkut hadat, balayla, of the night. Meaning if people don't know, they don't learn and they don't know, they're going to have emunah questions. Shehu bichinat sitimat tarin de Gan Eden kayadua. And this is what it means again, that the closing of the gates of Gan Eden, which is really again the closing of our emunah, is going on. That's why we're going to learn eventually, obviously, the tie-in is then wake up in the middle of the night and get some da'at, learn Torah. Don't be in the dark and not know, but wake up in the night and know something, learn Torah, and that will combat all this what's going on with lack of emunah, and will gain emunah. Uchdein, and then alma itnaheg al yeda de matronita, like we said, the world is going to be run by the queen. Now, Rav Natan Zal explains who the matronita is over here. Shehu bechinat hamalka kiddusha, the holy queen. Shehu bechinat ha'emunah kedusha, which is the aspect of emunah again, holy faith. Ki balayla, because in the night, be'et ha'choshech, when it's dark, histalkut ha'da'at, the da'at disappears, because we said we don't know clearly. As srichin letchazek rak be'emunah levad. We can only rely on emunah, because when you don't have the answers, you have to rely on emunah, faith, levad, only. Shehi bechinat malchut bechinat matronita hanal, which is malchut and which is the queen. So just like the moon represents the queen, that the moon doesn't have its own light. So again, there's no da'at, so to speak, but there's only emunah. And that's why we say, v'zeh bechinat ve'emunatecha balelot. Your emunah is at night. We say emet v'yatziv in the day, and Shema we say emet ve'emunah at night. Because nighttime is a time where you're not going to know, so to speak. You have to believe. Not that we don't know Torah at night. It means it's just showing that the night and dark times of our lives is where when we don't know, that's when you have to believe. Not so much that in the 24-hour period of night, we may not know. Obviously, if you're learning Torah and you have an answer, you know. It means the dark times of our lives is when we don't know. Not so much the clock. That's why one is a metaphor, a mashal, to the other teaching. V'chamuva b'divrei Rabbeinu Zal b'makom acher, like Rabbeinu Zal says in Siman 35, look there. V'zehu bechinat hashena shebalayla. This is the aspect of sleep of the night. Ki balayla az nimshach hachoshech ba'olam, because at night the darkness is spreading forth into the world. V'ikar hachoshech, and darkness, meaning our darkness that we see, that there's no light, nimshach comes from and is drawn from mehachoshech ha'elyon, from the higher darkness or supernal darkness, which is up in Shamayim, which means the concept of darkness. So our choshech, our darkness, comes from the idea that there's a concept called darkness, and so that's why we have a darkness in our world. Shehu bechinat, which is of the aspect of omek hamusag. Musag is hasaga, knowledge, knowing, and omek is deep, like we say ma me'od ameku machshebotecha. How deep is your thoughts, Hashem? Again in Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat. Bechinat yashet choshech sitro. He puts choshech to be his seter, his secret or his hiding place, meaning it's hidden. Choshech is an aspect of where the secrets are. Shehem bechinat hakushyot she'i efshar liyashevan. And this is the idea again of those questions which have no answer. That's why it's dark, because we don't have an answer. So just to explain, the way the Ramchal of Moshe Chaim Lutzato explains the idea of Omek, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he terms it as part of the Hashgacha or Hanhaga process, that God monitors everything and is in charge of everything. He calls it, it comes from the books obviously, Hanhagat HaYechud, the Yechud, which means the oneness, where God alone only knows what he's doing from that perspective. No one else knows. Other things people can know, but there's things that are unknown, which is what we're saying now, like the Kushyot, things that are unknown. For instance, Rabbi Akiva, when he was being tortured, God forbid, to death, and they were taking iron combs and taking off his skin, lo aleinu. The malachim, the angels, told Hashem, Zu Torah v'zo sechara, this is Torah and the reward, how can it be? And Hashem said, Gezerahu melefanai. And he said, don't ask anymore. If you ask anymore, I have to change the world back to tohu vavohu. Which means there are reasons why Hashem can be the only one to know something. He doesn't let it be revealed. And it has to do, then you can only have emunah in the matter. You're not going to get an answer. And he told that to the malachim for us to learn as well. Some things there's no answer, and those things are where only God alone has the answer. It's called the Hanhagat HaYechud. We also learn this from the idea of that there's Vahi Erev Vahi Boker, there's always evening and then morning, which is also there's night and day, darkness and light, because of the fact that Adam Arishon, when he was made, he didn't know all the amount of knowledge of godliness that's available for him to know. That was the idea. He had to do a mitzvah in order to then know everything that he can. He'll never know everything because we don't know God per se really as he is, but whatever is available to know, even that he didn't know totally. That's why he had to do a task in order to know it. And that's called Yemot HaMashiach. If he would have done the job, he would have entered Yemot HaMashiach, he would have been Mashiach, and he would have gained the knowledge that we're going to have when Mashiach comes. So there was obviously something lacking in knowledge, in knowing who Hashem is. That's why there's always been an aspect of night and day, because there's some we know, some things we know, some things we didn't know. Usually we refer to it as Galut is like the night, the exile is like the nighttime, and the redemption is like the daytime, and it's going to be like day forever when Mashiach comes, because it means only going to be knowledge out there. But even that's not so true. It's not so much that it's Galut and Geulah as the two sides of the coin, because even when Shlomo HaMelech was around and we had the Beit HaMikdash, there was still an aspect of night, and it still became dark at night, because even though they were not in exile, they didn't reach Yemot HaMashiach yet. That's really where the point is. It's either pre-Mashiach or time of Mashiach. Whether there's Galut in there or not is a separate point. It just means it'll be even darker. But the darkness at all is because we didn't reach Yemot HaMashiach. And that's why it says the Kushiot will end when Mashiach comes, because it will be a time of light. This is what we understand about Omek HaMusag. Now, the way we just explained it, this is called a hashkafic view or answer, hashkafa, meaning understanding of hashgacha, like we said, which is in the Yigdal, and it's part of Derech Hashem, how Hashem runs the world. And there's much more to elaborate on it. Now, from a Kabbalistic point of view, when we deal with the Sefirot, that's specifically Kabbalah, so listen to a great Kabbalistic answer to how this is understood from Rav Nassan Maimon, Shlita.
I remember learning this for the first time and not knowing what it was talking about, and asking Rav Rosenfeld about it, and Chasdei Hashem, he knew very well and was able to explain it. We know that Chachma, Chesed, those midos of Hashem are referred to as light, forms of light, and forms of kindness, giving. And when we speak about, we've spoken about this many times, that the vowels in the Hebrew alphabet correspond to the midos of Hashem. Chachma is referred to as, corresponds to Pasach. Pasach means to open up, poseach. In the midah of Chachma, the door is open, the light is open. When you go above Chachma, you would say above Chachma, that there's even a brighter light, right? The light is even more open. The answer is no. Above Chachma, you have the Keser, where because it is so high a light, because it is so much more powerful than Chachma, so if we could see that light, it would blind us. The Nekuda, the corresponding vowel to that, is called Kometz. Kometz means closed, hidden. That light is hidden. So a person looking Kaviyachol, if we could look at the Keser, if we could look at Chachma, we would see light. If we were to look past Chachma to the Keser, what would we see? Darkness. Is it dark because of absence of light? Chas v'shalom. It's dark because the light is so bright that it appears to us as darkness. It's like when you look directly at the sun, in 3 seconds, you will see black. The only thing you'll see is black because your eye can't handle the light. It's too bright for your light. So Rav Nosson says the darkness that we experience down here on earth at night is a result of that keser, that oimek hamusal, that darkness, that heavenly darkness, which is coming because there's such a deep, high light there that it's got to be closed and hidden.
And there's no way to get an answer in this world. שאלו הקושיות הם בחינת חושך המסתירין התגלות אלוקותו יתברך. These are the questions that are the aspect of darkness which hide the revelation of godliness. וזה החושך, and it's this type of חושך or questions, אי אפשר לסלק על ידי שום דעת. You'll never answer them up with any type of knowledge. Ki'im, but only al yedei emunah levad. You can only have faith about these matters because it's not to be known in this world. So we won't get an answer. And again, to try and find an answer, you'll end up giving the wrong answer and you'll end up going off the track. There's no way to find an answer on these questions. You can only rely on emunah. So emunah has to do with the nights. That's what we're saying. And when it's night in our life, we can only rely on emunah and say we believe, even though we don't know why this is happening to me. I believe Hashem knows what He's doing, and I therefore carry on and continue with doing the right thing. V'zehu bechinat sheina shalayla. This is the idea of sleeping at night. Ki sheina hu bechinat histalekut hadat. Because when we sleep, the da'at goes away, meaning we're not thinking, the mind is on hold. Or at rest, the mind's always working, but we're not conscious, so to speak. So the da'at is not there. So we switch gears into emunah. Nechnas hadat letoch emunah. V'nitchadesh sham. And we're renewed over there. V'bchinat hadashim labikarim rabba emunatecha. Again, renewing in the morning and having a lot of faith. Emunah. Kimvuar b'dvei Rabbeinu Zal b'Torah Ashrei Ha'am, like it says over there in Likutei Maharan, Siman Lamed Hey 35, which is called Ashrei Ha'am Ayin Sham. Look there. Hainu b'shat cheshchat laila. When it's the time of the dark of the night. Dehainu keshematchilin lishlot ba'olam. When it's time for the klipot, elu ha-klipot, to have shlita, dominion over the world, v'kefirot, v'kushyot, and all the non-beliefs and the questions, she'yi afshar le'yashavan, that are unanswerable, shehem bechinat cheshchat laila, which is the idea of the dark of the night, az sirichin le'shena, that's when a person needs to sleep, shehi tikun v'naicha le'mochin, which is a tikkun, rectification, and a rest for the brains. Because then you have to remove your da'at totally. Shezehu bichinat shena, which is the idea of sleep. Histalkut hada'at, that da'at goes away, lismoch rak al emunah levad, and we rely only on emunah. What Rab Natan is saying here is, just like when it gets dark, we go to sleep, physically, literally, in order to rest our minds. That's what we do. So in that sense, when life becomes dark, we also have to rest our minds, which is a rest of the da'at, and rely only on emunah. That's what it means. We have to, so to speak, go into a sleep state when things are dark in our life. And a sleep state means an emunah state, even though we're wide awake. It just means to rely on emunah when it comes to the hardships of our lives that we're not able to answer up. Shezehu ikar bechinat shena. This is the understanding of what sleep is. Shemesalekin az hadat legamre. That we take away our da'at, our knowledge totally. V'somchin rak al emunah. And we rely only on faith. Shehu bechinat kabbalat ol malchut shamayim, which is the idea of accepting the yoke of heaven. It means to accept it and say whatever Hashem is doing is for the best, even though I don't understand it. Shemekabelin al atzman kodem hashena, which is what we do before we sleep. In the physical sense of sleep, what do? Al yidei kiryat shema shalamita. We say kiryat shema by the bed. Shehu emunah hayechud, which is the idea of emunah in God's oneness. Notice he says emunat hayechud, playing on what we said before. The Ramchal says the hanhagat hayechud, which is again the oneness of God, that we do not understand. And that's why it's termed the emunah of it, not the da'at of it. Ki b'sh'at shena, because in the time of sleep, nichnasin hamochin letoch emunah, like we said, the brains and what we know go into the stage of emunah, meaning that we don't know. We just believe. Ki keneged elu hakushot she'ei efshar liyashivan, because this is again keneged, paralleling those questions that we don't have an answer for. Shem bechinat tokef hachoshechet shel laila, that it is the strong part of the night that it is dark. Sham tzrichin lesalek da'ato legamre. In that scenario of when it's dark is when we have to leave our da'at on the side, bibchinat shena mamash, which is like sleeping, because again our minds are in a not conscious. V'lismoch rak al emunah levad, and we have to only rely on faith at that time. This is what will help us get through our dark times in life, that we don't know why Hashem is doing things. We have to rely that He knows what He's doing, and this is emunah, and we can still maintain a close relationship with our Creator.